Welcome to All Things Social Security. Enjoy your video. Good morning. Happy Sunday. And this is Social Security Roundup for the week of October 20th. That was Monday to yesterday, which was Saturday, the 25th. All right, let's go. Let's whiz through this in case you missed any of these and any of them maybe spark an interest. Monday was I call it the attorney collaboration between myself and my highly esteemed colleague and friend, Jonathan Ginsburg. And it is from a recent live Q&A he had that I was his guest participant in. And so occasionally we pull out some particular subjects that we talk about. And then I try here to pull that little piece out and then attach something that's relevant to the issue in question that is a video I have already made. So, or can make, but usually it's one that's already been done. But anyway, so that was on the 20th. On the 20th, and this particular one was about, I know it involved the trial work period and questions in that regard. So we go into that briefly, and then I attach something more about trial work period. On the 21st, that would be Tuesday. This was, oh yeah, when a judge has a single hypothetical at your ALJ hearing that produces jobs. We discuss how, in this particular instance, an attorney cross-examined the VA to come to no jobs. We kind of discussed what that means, and is that one hypothetical now, or is that two? And I think someone was inquiring about what, is it a good sign? All that kind of thing. So we go into that a little bit. On the 22nd, that would be Tuesday. This was a little share that happened here. It was actually a consult I was doing for a non-citizen, non-resident Social Security beneficiary living abroad, but not in his own country of citizenship. So it was kind of interesting. I've consulted for this gentleman before, like a private consult, and I thought it was worthwhile to share. And we might have talked about this before, but the overarching rule is that if you're not a citizen and you're entitled to Social Security benefits from the United States and you are not going to be living in the United States, the general rule, with exceptions, and that's the critical part there, is you must return every 6 months for 1 month, a whole month. So it's a pretty high burden, I think. I understand it. And I'm very, very glad for the exceptions because they eliminate, for the large part anyway, much of the risk involved with surreptitious stealing of benefits and benefits going to other countries and who knows if the person's alive, that kind of thing. So it is an arduous thing to have to come back every 6 months and spend money for airfare, hotel for a month. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, obviously most people wouldn't be able to do it. So that would beg the question then, how does somebody go live in a foreign country, which is it's not our right under the other country's rules. It is their decision whether they take in, immigrants like ourselves. When we go there, we'd be immigrants and let us stay. And I think by and large, it kind of depends on if you're self-sufficient. Most countries do that. The United States kind of fell off that wagon, but hopefully they'll climb back on it. But should people have to come back every 6 months? When do they not have to? And what happened to this fellow when the SSA seems to have gotten it wrong? And now he's on his second or more trip back while trying to fight the fact that he shouldn't have to. And when I say shouldn't have to by law, by the SSA's own laws, that someone has forgotten to read the exception. And it's just, applying the flat out overarching thing, but there's a bunch of exceptions and his is one of them. So it's kind of interesting. I was glad to do it. It was kind of on a quick order. We missed up our times. Apparently, we always do things Eastern Standard Time because everybody knows we're on the East Coast in the United States. And so anyone I'm going to do a consult for, just always assume it's EST. I don't care where you are. You could be in Japan. And that's the only way we would ever keep our head straight about it. That person only has to think about it once. We've got, hundreds. So it's like, no, everybody do your math. It's going to be, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You figure it out in your own particular location. So that was unclear because it wasn't like the Q&As that come on at 1 p.m. or something like that. So we just, the whole first consultation got missed. It was pretty funny. But we made up for it by like the end of the day because he kind of had a deadline, which I didn't even know about until I knew about it. So we made sure to get him done on time. It was good. So that was the 22nd. 23rd, this is a little pullout, I think, from a recent live stream. Someone had asked about artificial intelligence and being fearful that AI is from the SSA. AI from the SSA is going to be following people around in their day-to-day that are beneficiaries. And there is zero evidence of that at all. And I should just add, because I'm sure I don't say it in here, AI does have its concerns. I'm not really concerned about it for Social Security, though, which is thankful. But the rest of our lives, I was listening to something today, and they're talking about a congressman's, I want to say it was his testimony or something. Maybe it was a congressional hearing. I'm not sure. I think it was Josh Hawley. But he's talking about, I guess whatever he said, and I'm dying to watch it, is the impending things that are going to be happening on steroids that is going to, if most experts are correct, really throw everybody for a loop, because we've been slow on the, and I hate to say regulation, because I'm not a big regulation person, but when it comes to something of that magnitude, it's kind of like I'm a pro Second Amendment person, but no, little kids cannot play with guns. Do you know what I mean? Like, there has to be regulations to some degree that does not interfere with the adults. There's got to be, and it's true for AI. There has to be probably regulations, which are going to be hard to monitor, perhaps, like we have on controlled substances. It's just, it is interesting. I'm dying to hear what he had to say, because, we all think of AI as the useful parts of it. And that's because we don't have brains that think, more expansively, perhaps. It's hard for many of us, not all of you, but I know myself, to think outside the box too much. I know inventions can go on steroids beyond what anyone ever envisages. And I don't have that kind of creativity to actually think of what it could do. But when someone describes it, I'm like, whoa, So I'm not fearful of it for Social Security surveillance beyond what already has been done for years, such as perhaps looking on your Facebook. Well, then don't put your stuff on public Facebook. I mean, it's kind of easy. And I do hope that I think AI should be treated with the same way, and this is totally possible and required, I think, all the due process rights, including search and seizure, privacy invasions, and all that, have to be incorporated into, like, the AI, it doesn't get an exception. So anyway, I didn't go into those things in this. I was just expressing that I'm not concerned with it for SSA. I think actually for years, automation has helped SSA do a better job. And AI is, in my opinion, really just automation, except with the generative part, perhaps, where it can learn. And I know that's a very naive expression from me, and I am naive on it. I don't make any doubt on that. But AI to help get more details about a case than the human brain, mind, eyes could do. So to supplement the human's limitations, I think AI is very helpful to supplement, of course, and be verified, of course. So anyway, that was what that was about. On the 3rd, on the 24th, which was Friday, we had Friday Fraud Law Review. This is about someone from my home state, Pennsylvania, my current home state. And it was a senior who's been stealing from the SSA from 20 years ago up until a couple of years, stealing from VA benefits, veteran benefits, and Social Security. So he got nailed. Well over $250,000, actually. I think it was like 350,000 that he stole. And it was a very scant on facts kind of article, which sometimes the OIG does. And I thought I was curious. I mean, he's 76 years old. You're never getting paid back if you spend it. The funds are just, there you go. And we wonder why they're, troubled. I love that they're catching fraudsters. My question was, what are they going to give him for a sentence? I mean, he's closer to 80 than he is to 70. And I do think there should be jail time. I'm not saying life, but if you give him 10 years, it's probably life. So maybe something more mitigated. I don't know. But anyway, it didn't get me all hot and bothered like some of the cases, maybe because of his age. But, he was only, he was in his 50s when he started this. So he was younger than me. So he knew better. So maybe he should get it. I guess we'll see if they decide to publish it. I don't really follow up if it's not an OIG. And then Saturday, we had the replay of the live Q&A from Wednesday of all things Social Security and people asking their questions. And it was a fun little crowd. We went a little overtime, but not too bad. Yeah, it was fun. And it's funny. YouTube did a stellar job processing it right away. I couldn't believe that it was like processed. I feel like it was like within an hour, but it might just be that my time goes really fast. So maybe it was longer than that. But I've been waiting for days sometimes for it to be processed. So for whatever reason, it was speedy yesterday. And in fact, I was supposed to have it out Thursday morning and I didn't because I forgot. I put it on the wayside, probably because I'm so used to it taking days that I'm like not in a rush. Anyway, we got to it and it got up for Saturdays. Anyway, if anybody missed the Q&A live stream, feel free to check in on there. All those ums and ahs and blank spaces have been checked out. So, all right, I have a phone call coming in. So have a great week, guys. I hope you had a great weekend. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you. Bye-bye now. It's still Sunday. Did you miss last week's Social Security roundup? Not this week that you just heard, but the one prior to that, and want to catch up? I'm attaching it now. Have a great day. Bye. Happy Sunday from All Things Social Security. My name is Stephanie Joy. I am a Social Security disability attorney, and I put this out every week, barring some emergency. Just going over the last week's video shares on Social Security. So in case you missed and you wanted to catch one, you can go back and see it. So this is going to be for the week of October 13th through yesterday, which was the 18th, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So here we go, guys, and happy Sunday. We had on Monday, it was a collaboration I did with my friend and colleague, Jonathan Ginsburg, where we discussed, what did we discuss in this one? It was part of his show, his Wednesday night at 8:30 live Q&A. This was all about, the different camps on how many of your impairments should you include in your claim? Should you include all of them, just a handful, 3 or 4? Jonathan and I do things a little bit differently. Well, the basics are definitely the same. And then I might lean as to going for more, and he might lean to sticking with the 3 or 4. So there's just 2 different ways of looking at it. It doesn't matter as long as you get to the end, same results. So it's all good. On the 14th, which would be Tuesday, if you heard that, that's the bird sitting over here. Tuesday, this was a question about, we were going over the question of reporting when you know there's Social Security fraud. Regardless of, some people are going to be, I'm just keeping my mouth shut. Other people might be, I'm going to say something. Regardless, the question had come up of, well, if you don't know the person's Social Security number, doesn't that mean SSA won't do anything about it? And I didn't think that was so when I heard it. So I went and I found out from the SSA and their very own complaint form. So we go over that a little bit on Tuesday, the 13th. Wednesday, the 15th, we had the live Q&A, the daytime live Q&A for all things Social Security at 1:00 p.m. Wednesdays live stream. We had that. And then also the noon daily pre-recorded came out, and that was about the dilemma that has occurred, at least for one person, but probably more than one, in some way, shape, or form. A person who's on workers' comp or getting workers' comp and going to all the workers' comp doctors because they're not really given a choice. And what happens when a workers' comp doctor threatens to withhold his opinion about the severity of one's condition unless that patient or claimant agrees to allow him to do the surgery that he says would be necessary. But he won't say why on paper, apparently, until someone feels like they must agree to a surgery. It was a little bizarre. Thursday, this came out belated instead of coming out at the normal 12 o'clock pre-recorded. The replay of Wednesday's live stream came out a little bit later in the afternoon, just due to some scheduling conflicts. I don't even think it was YouTube's fault this time, but that is the replay of the Wednesdays. And just so you know, the replays are abbreviated in the sense that all of the silent scrolling time is cut out of it. I'm scrolling to check for a second question from the person or a connecting question in the live chat that everybody can see. But I figure for a replay, best to cut those out so you don't have to sit through that if what you're wanting to do is sit through a replay and listen to the questions and answers that came with them. And then Friday, of course, we had our weekly Friday fraud law review. And this one concerned a Mexican illegal alien who'd committed ID theft of an American citizen's information and used it for years. And he was finally nailed very recently, because all the ones I publish here are always very recent. What was that, Friday? Saturday, this was a little ditty about the borderline age category change situations. This would generally apply to people 49 and over, and things you might want to know if you fall into one of those ages. I'd say 49, 54, and to some degree 59, I suppose. Things to look at in terms of the potentiality of having a borderline age situation where they can bump you up to the next category if it would mean you would win the case that you would otherwise lose because of the differing rules in the categories. So really important topic, that one. Okay, that was it for the week, guys. The 13th, October 13th, 2025 to October 18th, 2025. I hope you had a great week. I hope you had a great weekend and that you're having a peaceful and memorable Sunday. That's my plan as well. So be well, everybody. Be safe, and God bless. Bye-bye.